And I was like, man, I got to do something about this. I got to go to the hospital. I got to go to the emergency room because I don't want this to get infected again, get abscessed, and then they got to cut it open, pack it full of stuff, put me on like drip antibiotics. And I just didn't want to do any of that. I wanted to nip this thing in the bud. So I did. Welcome back to another episode of Life, Recovery, and the Pursuit of Sanity. Take 2. I did the first one in my car, and it was raining outside. Well, needless to say, the sound of the rain was driving me insane as I was editing it, so I'm like, out. I'll do it again. So here we are inside episode 3 of Early Recovery. So last episode I talked about going to Iowa, trying to get clean, not getting clean, end up getting high. Just the chaos that went along with that. And then I come back and the flies in my house, and then getting caught stealing again. And so we are one day from the last time I used methamphetamine or any mind-altering substance. So it was a Saturday night. I just got caught stealing Saturday night. I had a friend. He wasn't my friend. He was an acquaintance. He was a using partner or whatever you want to call it. He calls me up. Hey, we want to get high. And I was feeling lonely, so he come over. We got high. And I remember when he left, thinking to myself, wow, this is really what my life has become. And people only want to hang around me when I can get them high. And that one stung a little bit because I was feeling very lonely. They get high and then they like almost immediately bolt. And I was struggling with that one. And so that was late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. So I get high again, do up a shot, and I go to church. So Rod and Susan, they're my wife's parents. They were in town. They were going to Branson or something like that on Sunday. They came to church, and so I went to church, and something just came over me. I mean, it was crazy. I couldn't stop crying at all. I was just bawling for no apparent reason, and I was like, this really freaking sucks. Here I am, high as a kite. You would think that it would be like taking whatever emotions are there, rumbling around in my head, and suppressing them, putting them down. But no, I'm crying like a baby. And crying so much that Rod was like, hey, how about you come to Branson with us? And it's crazy that, some of the things that I did, but I was like, no, because I didn't want Stephanie to be taken away from her mom and dad, the time that they would have spent together, because I would have been a major distraction. So I leave, they leave, and one of my friends calls me up and says, hey, I'm going to come on over. So he comes on over, and he gives me like this half a gram of dope in a syringe, and I do it up. I'm feeling good, and immediately start crying again. Once that initial rush came down, I'm miserable. And so I had a little bit left over. I went, gave some to him, and I gotten that infection when I was in the hospital. Well, it started to poof up again. And I was like, man, I got to do something about this. I got to go to the hospital. I got to go to the emergency room because I don't want this to get infected again, get abscessed, and then they got to cut it open, pack it full of stuff, put me on like drip antibiotics. And I just didn't want to do any of that. I wanted to nip this thing in the bud. So I did. It was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I go to the emergency room, and I remember sitting there looking around in the waiting room. And I tell you what, the feeling of loneliness was so overwhelming because I'm looking around, and all these people in this emergency room waiting area, they got family, they got loved ones, they have somebody that is with them as they're waiting to see the doctor for whatever ailment they have. But not me. I'm alone. And so I remember it's funny. So they put me back in the room waiting to see the doctor, and the way that it was set up, there was like a partial wall and then like a curtain separating two different places. And the person next to me, I don't know what he did, but he was under surveillance by a police officer. So there's a police officer right there, and then there's me, high as a kite, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just gotta stay still. I can't move. I just gotta, and so anyway, they give me some antibiotics and some cream and stuff like that. So I go to Walgreens, get this prescription filled, and mind you, man, I'm like feeling very lonely. This is probably the most lonely I've ever felt in my whole entire life. It was just overwhelming loneliness. And I remember sitting there waiting for my prescription to be filled, and the pharmacy technician was like, "Sorry, we're out. Sorry, we're out. Sorry." I mean, this probably went on like 20, 30 times in like a 20, 30-minute period. And so when I went up to pay for my prescription, I asked the pharmacist, I'm like, "What is going on? What are you guys out of? What is?" And he was like, "Oh, these are a bunch of meth heads trying to buy pseudoephedrine. We're out." I'm like, holy crap. Because in my mind, when I was doing all this stuff, I thought I was being smooth. I had no idea, like every single minute, some meth head is trying to get pseudoephedrine. Because here in the state of Missouri and in Springfield, you have to go to the pharmacy to get pseudoephedrine. So I go home and I'm just overwhelmed, and I just laid there in my bed all alone, crying, "God, do something for me. Do whatever it takes, because I can't do this anymore." And that was the last day I ever used methamphetamine or any mind-altering substance. And I tell you what, I'll never forget it, because that day sucked. I didn't want to be alone anymore. I mean, the feeling of loneliness was just so consuming. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know. I was just like, I'm completely lost, God. You have to do this for me. So if you're in that position, I have some things that can help. And I don't really want to get into whether or not you agree or disagree with certain things, but get yourself to a meeting. Get yourself to church. Get yourself some counseling. Get yourself some help from people that know what you're going through and are willing to walk with you as you're going through this stuff, because you do not have to do it alone. We were never meant to go at this thing we call life alone. Ever. Never. We're meant for relationship, community, to be a part of one another's lives. And that's exactly what you need if you're going through early recovery. I'd like to thank you for watching this episode. Episode 3 of Life Recovery and the Pursuit of Sanity, Early Recovery. Hit that like button, consider subscribing, leave a comment down below, share the crap out of these videos. Please, please, please. I'm not begging. I guess maybe I am a little. But anyway, till next time, peace.